See, but there comes a time in your life where no one is giving you instructions anymore. And the question becomes, what do I do next? And guess what? If you're not careful, that question in itself will put you under pressure and would make it seem like you had not known anything, even from the beginning. Hey guys, welcome to the Advantage podcast with KMR. I am KMR. Well, my name is Rejoice Azuka Owuseba, but everyone calls me KMR, Kingmaker Rejoice. And this is one podcast where we have conversations where you think, where you come out of your comfort zone and you confront those limiting beliefs and limiting behaviors and limiting patterns that you ordinarily would not confront. I look forward to you growing and becoming through this podcast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Advantage podcast with KMR. And guess what? Today we're going to have an amazing conversation because it's one of my favorite things to talk about what to do when you don't know what to do next. You see, you've recognized something, right? You're not as confused as you thought. You're just in a season where the next step is not so obvious. Some of us are coming from secondary schools where you have exams and there's multiple choice questions. There's 4 answers and then there's 1 right answer. Well, I'll tell you about my university journey. I had the multiple choice questions and then I got into university and I heard something called all the answers are correct, choose the best possible answer. Well, in that moment, I was overwhelmed. I felt under pressure because for God's sake, all the answers are good. So how do I know the best possible answer? Shouldn't it be a matter of context? Well, it was different because it was a medical course, so there are certain expectations that you should have as baselines. But as I've journeyed in life, I realized that your best possible answer may be completely different from what my best possible answer should be. And this is the reason why this conversation for me is very important. Because many of us are used to clear instructions. Do this, go there, apply here, follow this path. So what happens when you've done everything that you know how to do, and then all of a sudden, you don't know what to do anymore? Because there comes in your life when nobody's going to give you instructions, nobody's going to tell you what to do next. So the question becomes for you, what am I going to do next? And if you're not careful, that question can now create pressure. You start feeling like you're wasting time, or you start feeling like, oh, I should have had it figured out by now, or like everybody knows something that you don't. And that's not true, because everybody is actually trying to find their next steps just like you are. So don't try to force an answer. I want you to slow down, because when you don't know what to do, the next step is not to push clarity. The next step is to make a sensible move. Most people feel like they need a full plan. They need to know every detail. They want certainty. They want to know, if I take this step, will it work? Will it lead me somewhere? Will I regret taking this step? So they wait. First, they research. Then they overthink. Then they start procrastinating, which leads to delay. Not because they are lazy. This all started because they were trying to avoid making the wrong decision. But here's the truth. You don't need to have full clarity before you move. Sometimes the first step is the answer that you need to make the rest of the steps. For example, you're thinking about switching careers, and then you're thinking, oh, let me figure it out first. So you stay where you are. Months pass and nothing changes. But the people who eventually make transition, they didn't actually have everything figured out. They took a step. They had a conversation. They took a course. They started a small project in the area of their interest. And then one step showed them what the next step should be, or even what the next step should not be. And that clarity followed movement. Sometimes it's fear. Because the real problem is not always confusion, it's fear. The fear of choosing wrong, the fear of wasting time, the fear of starting and realizing that maybe, just maybe, what you're trying to build is not for you. So instead of choosing something small and learning from it, you choose to do nothing. And nothing keeps you stuck longer than a wrong step ever could. You see, a wrong step can be corrected, but no step keeps you in the same place. So many people are searching for the right decision, the one that guarantees success, the one that removes doubt, the one that has it all the I's dotted and all the T's crossed. Well, the truth is this, that does not always exist. What exists are reasonable options, good enough options, options that make sense where you are, not where you want to be yet. And your job is not to find perfection. Your job is to choose wisely with what you know. So I'll give you another example. You have two opportunities. One is exciting but unclear. One is stable but not exciting. Then you sit in that tension for months. Not because you don't understand them, but because you're trying to remove risk completely. But the truth is this, every decision carries a risk. The question is not which is perfect. The question is, which one can I learn from now? Because when the question is easier to answer, it is more useful for you to get information from that question. So hear me out, guys. You don't need to know your next 5 years today. You just need a sensible next step. Small enough to take, but meaningful enough to move you forward. Not dramatic, not life-changing, just sensible. For example, if you're unsure about a career, why don't you find someone in that field and talk to them? And no, don't give me the excuse of I don't know anybody. There's LinkedIn, there's Instagram. You could reach out to people in that field and send them messages and ask questions. If you want to build something, start small, not publicly perfect. It's okay for it to be rough around the edges. It's okay not to have a professional logo. It's okay not to have a beautiful aesthetic. Just start. Sitting here, I just remember my first videos and the room where I was when I first started. And I'm looking at where I am now. And I just laugh in awe because all it took was the decision to take a step. If you're confused about direction, expose yourself to new environments. Remember, there are no big moves that you're being asked to make. You're invited to make real moves because real movement will create feedback, and feedback will help you create understanding, and understanding would empower you to create direction. So listen, stop looking for answers before experience. Life teaches you through participation. You try something, you observe, and you adjust. That's how direction is built, not by sitting and thinking. Some of you have overthought your greatness. You have overthought your next big thing. And guess what? You will keep overthinking until you decide to do something. Engage intentionally and choose to learn. Learn from it. And one of the things that has stood out to me is this: you are allowed to change your mind. You see why overthinking does nothing for you? Because while you're sitting there overthinking, someone has taken a step and realized that that step doesn't work. And then they've learned from experience and they've gone a different direction. Insanity is defined as doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result every time. I know you're not crazy. And that's why I'm having this conversation with you. Because I need you to understand that you are not making permanent decisions. It's a direction. You can adjust. You can refine it. You can change, no matter how far you've gone into that decision. You see, movement gives you something to work with, but stillness leaves life a theory. Make progress by making the decision to take a step. If you don't know what next to do, don't panic. You're not late. You're not lost. You're just at a point where you need to move differently. Not faster, better. One small step, one little move. So here's what I want you to sit with this week. What is one sensible step I can take right now with what I already know? Remember, it doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to change your life overnight. It just needs to be one step. Until I come your way next week, see you guys. Bye for now.